Hello and welcome back. So it has been a little bit longer than I was intending. I took a few hours off to go cook some food, and now we're back to the code. So let's figure out where we left off. So last time we did process actions. We ran into a tiny bit of trouble with that, but we figured it out by returning all process actions as well as the regular actions. If so, we're just checking to see if it has a type to make sure it's an actual action and not a stop action. And we're making sure that the action wasn't in the previously processed actions before adding it to either the all process actions or the actions. Okay, so now we're here and we have actions and all processed actions. Okay, so now we're going to loop through the actions, and each of these is going to have a name, a type, and a context. And it might not have a context, but it's definitely going to have a type because we checked for that, and it's definitely going to have a name because otherwise it's not it's not a valid switch. So now we're going to find the switch using context if present. And remember, I want context. Context can either be parent or a number from a number starting at 0. Okay, so we're going to say get target switches data. Okay, so instead of calling this target switches data, I'm just going to call it target switches. And we're going to say get target switches. Sorry, 1 second. I'm going to just clear my throat. Okay, so we're back here. We're going to do get target switches, and we're going to have the context and I think the action. And action is going to look like this. So we can copy that here, and we're going to do context, and we're going to do like parent, or oh, sorry, we don't need the context passed in, right? Because that's going to be on the action. So I'm gonna move this down here. So let's see. So e.g. So let's move this in here. Action can be action. Let's do like e.g. that, and then we'll paste in this thing. Context can either be parent or a number starting at 0. I could put like name as a string, but that's something I know. So name and type are strings. Oh, type might be good to have here, just as a reminder. Type is either toggle or on or off. Okay, so now we're going to get the target switches. And I actually only need the context and the name here. I don't really care about the other one. So I'm going to do name and context and equal to action. So this is a way of destructuring an object, so of quickly assigning variables to keys within the object. So now we have the name and the context. And I want to see how I do that, how I do this in the old widget code. So actions for each. So this is where I do it, I think. Okay, actually I don't think I need it. So I have the name of the widget, and I want to get the ones that have this attribute equal to, they have the name within it. And so let's see. So we're going to do let selector equal this. So this would get us all of the switches. But we don't want all of the switches, so we want, so we could do star equals, and let's make this a template string so that we can include something in here. And we're going to do quotes around it because that's just a good practice. And we can even use double quotes there, but this is fine. And we're going to do name. So this string is going to end up looking something like this. I'm sorry, my throat is a little bit itchy. So it's going to be like switch name. So the problem with this, as we went over in a previous video, I think a couple of videos back, is that with the star selector, this is a wildcard selector, this entire selector is going to match things like this too. So like switch name 2, or like switch name, orange, or switch name cat. Like these all of these strings have switch name in them. So they're going to match too, which is not something we want. So I thought about this a couple days ago, and what I realized is that what we're actually going to be looking for is either the space separated one. So for example, we might have, so I'm going to write just a couple like simple examples of the data attributes we'd be looking for. So like, and I'm going to delete this right afterwards, but it'll just help us think through it. So this is one example where we have subparameters passed into each of these switches. Another example might be, only one of them has subparameters, so we'll delete that one. And then another example might be neither of them have subparameters. Oh, and those are pretty much the only cases that we have to worry about. So so we can do a match using, and I'm going to just look up real quick, attribute selector, because this is a really cool page on the Mozilla developer web docs. So they have a bunch of examples of the different types of selectors, and this one with the little, I wonder what this thing is called. I'm going to look up this real quick. Oop, that's not what I want. Oh jeez, you guys can see my whole file system. Let's make sure there's nothing sensitive. Okay, so let's go to Google. It's like the first time I've typed in google.com in a while. What is this called? The symbol informally means approximately about tilde. Tilde. With a given name, see Matilda. Okay, so a tilde. I think that's how you pronounce it. Tilde. Okay, so this one will represent elements with an attribute name of attr, whose value is a white space separated list of words, one of which is exactly value. So if so let's switch this up a little bit. So I'm going to add one more case in here where this one has the subparameters and this one doesn't. And let's say we're looking for switch name, right? So if I do this one with the tilde, right? And this name value is equal to switch name, right? So let's just say this is, a string called switch name, right? Then that's going to match, with the tilde, it's going to match a space separated list of words. So that's going to match this one. So we've got this, boom. It's not going to match this one, it's not going to match this one, but it's going to match this one. So boom. So we've got two cases out of the way already. So what is in common for these two is that they have the parentheses after them. Now, if we want to ensure that it's definitely going to match no matter what, we might want to allow for the fact that it might have a space in between the the main parameter and the subparameters in parentheses. But that's not something I'm even supporting in the parser, so I'm not going to worry about that case. So all we really have to worry about is the name itself, followed by a parentheses, followed by something else. And the something else can be anything, right? I mean, we can't really rely on that being, something definite, right? I mean, in this case, I guess it could only be auto or no auto, but since it could be more than one, the only thing we know for sure is that there's going to be a parentheses after it. And we know that an open parentheses can't be part of the name because it's part of the syntax, right? So what we can do is for the selector, we can put a comma here, and then we can do um, the wildcard selector. Let's see what that is called. Does that have a name? No, but it represents elements with an attribute name of ATTR whose value contains at least one occurrence of value within the string. So here we can put in that name, right? So that's, switch name, right? And make sure that after the switch name we have, oh, sorry, an open parentheses. Okay, so let's put the variable back in there. So that's cool, right? Because this is going to match. So now this one with the parentheses afterwards, it's not going to match this one, which we already matched. It's not going to match this one, which we already matched. But it is going to match this one, right? And it is going to match this one. So all of our cases are covered, as far as I can see. I mean, maybe we would want to use some more advanced tests, but you can see, the other cases covered too here, right? So if we're looking for switch name 2, what are we going to match with this tilde selector? Well, we're going to match not this one because there's a parentheses right afterwards, right? So there's no space separator. We're not going to match this one, but we are going to match this one, and we are going to match this one. And then with the wildcard selector, with switch name 2, with the parentheses right after it, we are, so you can see, like, we're not going to match switch name parentheses because we have the 2 afterwards, but we will match this. So that's perfect. That's exactly what should happen. And then we will match this one. So it's like it's going to work no matter what. We're pretty sure. So let's do that. Oops. So we'll delete that. And we can delete that. I think like a little documentation string here would be nice. So matches space separated names as well as the name followed by an open parentheses anywhere in the attribute. Okay, so matches space. a space-separated name as well as a name followed by an open parentheses anywhere in the attribute. Yeah, and I don't really care about a long line. Some people would care, but you know, if you're looking over this code later and you're like, I have no idea what this line does, then you can scroll over a little bit and figure out, you know, what it does. Okay, so the next thing we want to do, now that we have the selector, is find all of them, except that's not exactly true, right? So we might want to look through the parents. We might want to just get the first one, or the second one, or the third one, right? Or, yeah. Okay, so let's do this. Let's say if context, so context is either at this point going to be undefined or a string that is, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or parent. So we're going to say if context equals parent, then we're going to use our getParents function, which we used earlier. And oh geez, so we don't have the element. We don't have an element, and that is a problem. So let's see, what do we have here? We got the action elements, we get the action data, we process the actions, so this is a filter. So the getting the action data, this is where we want to add in the element. So here we parse the switch action attributes. We get we're going to get a list back. That's annoying, because then we'll have to go through the whole list if we want to add the element. But I think that's going to be necessary. Okay, so let's do let action attribute list, I guess, is going to equal this. I could probably think of a better name for this. So this is going to include the name of the switch, the type, and the context. So I could say like action list or actions list. I think that's good. Okay, so we've got the actions list. And so yeah, there's a couple of ways I could do this. I could also loop over this afterwards. No, I couldn't, right? Because I have the action element here, so I only have access to it in here. Okay, so I need to do it in here. So I have the actions list. I'm still going to concatenate that there. And let's do, yeah, I don't like all of these warnings and stuff. This is kind of annoying. It's kind of a signal to me that I could have written this better. Okay, but we're going to do actions list, and then we're going to do for each. And we can do action in there because we don't have any, there's no other action in this context that we're overwriting. Not that it would matter that much. And we're going to do ln equals action element. And this is going to return You know what, I wonder, this is something I should know as an experienced developer, but what happens, what is returned? Is that really, that's what's returned on an assignment, is the, I mean, it doesn't matter in this case because the for each isn't doing anything with the return. I was just curious. But yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, okay, and that makes sense. So like, can I do this? And then, again, something I should know. But I think I looked that up the other day and they're like, you can't do that in JavaScript. Okay, I don't know. So anyways, we have action list. We add the element there. So now we should have the actual element inside of the action. So the parser. Okay. So I don't know if this is necessary. At least I can put it on online, I guess. I'm also gonna delete this because I think it's obvious. Don't put a stop on the same as an action. If you do that, it's gonna be weird. And I'm gonna delete this because it's not necessary. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It just didn't really like explain a lot, and it just kind of added complication. Okay, so now we get back here, and now we have the element. So we got that, and now we can get the parents. So we have the element, we have the selector, and we want to include the current element. Is that true? Can the action element trigger itself? I don't see why not. So for now, we're going to leave it on. Yeah, I don't see a problem with. So if the context is parents, I guess if the context is parent, oh, it should probably be ancestor to be more like exact. So yeah, I guess yeah. So according to my earlier logic, where I required myself to pass in this extra argument in order for getParents to include the current element, then right now I shouldn't have it because it should just be looking through the parents. Jeez. I think that's fine. Yeah, so if the context is parent, I won't include the current element. And we're going to filter them by the selector. And we've got the element we need. And I guess let's just return that, right? Get target switches. Okay, so here is a possible problem because right now that would return the elements and what I want is for the target switch to be an object. Okay. So, okay. Let switch elements equal that. And then down here, let's return, and then let's, what do we do before to transform the elements? Get actions data. So instead of get actions data, let's do something like get switches data. and we'll pass in the switch elements. Okay, so if the context isn't parent, it could be a number. So let's say else if, yeah, and let's say this. So if context, right? Because then we don't have to go through any of this if we don't even have the context, right? So if context, oh, and we'll take this out here, and we're going to, oh, sorry, should have just deleted the let. Okay, so if context, then we're going to check to see if the context is parent, else if, now we want to see if the context is a number. And I think there's an easy way to do that. So there's this really cool website I love called debugx, which lets you write regular expressions and then see if they match something. So I want to match this, and the regular expression is -d, and it says it, /d, says it matches it. So I know \d stands for number. If I do, that's cool. So it shows you like a preview here of the result. So yeah, so this is going to match. And if I did like star, it's going to match too. I don't know, that's weird. So I'm not an expert in regular expressions, even though I've used them a lot. I'm not sure why this matches. Well, no, I do. That makes sense to me. But like when it's more than one, right? Because to me, this should represent just one digit. But I think it's because I'm not saying like end the string, right? So if I did, wait, how is that? Oh, okay, so that's saying it's at that. Okay, so it is at the end, right? Because it's matching this last two. Okay, so if I did this instead, that's the start of a string, right? I'm pretty sure. So this is a cool website too because it has a cheat sheet. So you can say, okay, beginning of the string. Yep. So you can really tell I'm not an expert in this stuff, but okay, so this won't match because this is saying one digit. But now if I say star, then it's going to work because now it's saying, okay, start of the string is a digit character followed by, as many digit characters. Oh, and sorry, the star is 0 or more. And so what we would really want here, for being exact, well, yeah, we would want a plus. Okay, so I could do this, or I could just go back to my original test of just having the digit, and then it's going to match, it'll match this, right? And it'll match this, right? Because I'm not specifying where the digit is. Okay, so let's look up regex how to match digit, or let's see, JS how to tell string is a number. That's not what we want. Okay, so I don't, well, okay, let's look up more things to do with this. Because it's just interesting, right? Just to, because this is something, if you, are just working on random games or JavaScript stuff, it's going to come up a lot, unless you just make sure your numbers always stay numbers. Has number, okay, so has number contains digit. So just use the regular expression. Okay, so let's see. 2. Yeah, so \d is short for 0 to 9. Okay. So, yeah, I think using this is probably our best bet. Yeah. Okay, so let's do that. Else if, so, you know what we could do? We could do this. We have some utils in here. These are for DOM stuff. This is helpers. This is what we want. So let's do like export function and is string a number. Okay, and then we have string, and then we do return this, and then at the top of this we do utils helpers, and we get that guy, and then down here we say is string a number context, and then let number, no, let let's say switch number, or switch, I need a better word for it. Let's see, selectors in CSS, because I know they have a number selector, they have like an nth selector. I want to know what that's called, because maybe I can use that to help with the name. Nth allows you to select one or more elements based on their source order. Okay. So it could be like position, switch position, and the child. Okay, so let's look at this for single argument, matching elements, numeric position. I like that. Okay, switch numeric. It's very clear, right? I'm not going to be confused about what this means when I come to it later. And we're going to just parse this as a number. And 10 is just the base. You don't need to include that, but I guess it's nice. But you don't need to. Should I? Should I? I don't know. Okay. So switch numeric. So this makes it sound like it's a function, because it's like an active verb switch. So I'm just going to have numeric position. Okay. So now we're going to. So the question is, should we look for all of the switches and then just grab this one? I think that's the easiest way I can think of. Yeah. Okay, so let's say switch, oh yeah, so we already have it up there. Switch elements equals, so we have the query selector all set to this, and we're just going to pass in the selector. So that should get all of them. And then we're going to, oh yeah, so we could use splice. So I think, I'm just going to guess here because I never use splice, but I'm pretty sure the first argument is the index. The next argument is how many to insert. I don't know. And the last is like how many to remove. Or no. One has to be the value to insert. So maybe it's index. I'm gonna have to look it up. Okay, so let's do splice. Inserts at, oh, okay. So it's the index, how many to remove, right? Yeah, index, how many to remove, and then all of the items you want to insert. Okay. So the index is going to be our numeric position, right? Because it's going to have the 0 index. So that's nice. So we don't have to add or minus anything from it. And then we want to do, no. Oh, wait. Okay, wait. Splice method changes the context of an array by removing existing elements and or adding new elements. And if we splice this with February, so I think it returns it. Return value, an array containing the deleted elements. Okay. With splice makes no sense. Why wouldn't I just do, oh no, it does make sense, right? Because I need an array. It's expecting an array. Yeah. So I could either do that. So one option instead of splice would be to do like switch elements equals switch elements and then the numeric position. And then put this in an array. And that would work. Or I could do this splice numeric position 1. And that's going to remove this from the array, but also return it. And we're just going to do this. Switch elements equals that. And that's going to give me it inside of an array. Not sure. Not sure which one to do. Is there a better option? Oh, nope, okay. I was just thinking about using just query selector, but that would only work if the numeric position is 0. I kind of like the slice one. It's kind of cool. And it's pretty simple. And I could even do that. But instead of doing that, let's do let all switch elements equal that, and then we'll do that. And we'll just say returns, returns element at numeric position index inside an array. Okay, so now if we don't have a context, so we're going to do else, then we're going to just do this, right? So let's just copy this line and replace this left-hand side with that. And that's going to get all the elements, and then get switches data. Okay, so let's make a new one. And we're going to take in the switch elements, and we want to return get switches data. So we want back this. So we want an object. I'm going to be right back. Okay. Okay, and we're back. So now we have to fill out this get switches data function, which is going to turn a bunch of elements that have the data-switches attribute on them into the data that those attributes contain. So let's say this is elms with like this. With attribute, for example, this. And in order to parse that, I'm going to use the parse data attributes, and we already made a function, I think, for parsing switch attributes. So we're using the one for parsing attributes, right? And then we have another one for parsing switch attributes, and that's going to assign the first parameter the key of name, the second parameter the key of auto, and the last one the key of custom switch name. And I'm just going to double check just to make sure. So yep, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, yeah, okay. And the second two are optional, but it's definitely going to have the first one. So if I copy this and I can just paste it right here. Let's see, what am I going to get back? So I'm going to get an array of objects. Okay, and what did I call it before? I called it actions list, and this is going to be switches list. I think I have to loop through each one of these one at a time, right? Yeah, okay, so we have this. So let's do it in the same way, right? So we just have a reduce function. No. So I only want to add the option. I only want to add it into the accumulator or list. Yeah, okay, so let's not use this. So I only want to add it if it matches the name. So get switch data, and let's pass in name as the first argument. So we'll do switch name, because the thing is, this switch element can have multiple names inside of it, and we don't want to get the data for the other stuff, right? Yeah, because we're just targeting this one, and what are we going to do with it? Let's just check real quick. So we're going to get the target switches, and we're going to turn them on and off. Okay, so let us do this. So we'll have switch elements, and then we'll do for each. Jeez. And switch element. And then we're gonna parse it. So this is the switches list. And this is gonna give us back okay. So what is this gonna give us back? This is gonna give us back a list of objects, and it's gonna have this, and this. And yeah. Okay, so we're gonna, let's see. So we want to just filter this out so that we don't have anything that doesn't match the name. So I'm just trying to think of the simplest way to do that. I think we can loop through these, see if it matches the name. And if it does, we'll add it to an array, right? And the thing about what this is going to return, this is going to return an array of objects, but we only want one object from it. So what we can do is map, right? And then we can say find. So I think, let's see, JS find. And I think this is not, I think this is fairly new. So if we go down to the bottom, we can see it's not supported by Internet Explorer, of course, but there's this cool thing called Polyfill Dot Io. And I'm pretty sure that it will, yeah, so it's going to fill it in. So basically, this is a really, really, really cool service. So what it does, you include their polyfill script on your page. And so you include this on your page. And if your browser has all the features it needs, this file is going to be empty. But if you load up this file in Internet Explorer, like 11, it's going to add, you know, the like 11 or 12 functions to the native, you know, prototype to add that functionality in. Okay, so we're going to have find because we're going to use polyfill.io. And if you want to see here, so this is the app I'm working on, and I have inside the JavaScript, I have polyfills. And I'm just going to write on the top as a to-do replace this. No, this is so stupid. Why would I do that? Why don't I just replace it right now, right? I'll just delete that file. Oh, jeez. Does it have custom event? I need to know that because I use that, I think, somewhere. So let's do browsers and features. Let's do custom event. It does. Wow, that's so cool. Okay, so let's array from. It's definitely going to have that. It's going to have array includes. It's going to have object assign. Okay, so let's delete this. Don't save. And then we're going to go into views. Nope, not views. Is it views? We're going to find the layouts. Where are, this is the layout. Okay, so we're going to take, oh, I should have cut that up. So we're going to take this and we're going to put it down here. And this just, it's a little bit lazy because it is adding an extra script to your page. But it's just so convenient that and you know what I can do? I can even like have a, I can even like put it like a comment in it so it only loads for Internet Explorer because, you know, F that browser. But for now, I'll just leave it in. Okay, so let's get back to the code. Okay, so we know we're going to have find in there, and find takes an element and returns if it's true. Find method returns the value of the first element in the array that satisfies the provided testing function. Otherwise, undefined is returned. First, the value of the first element in the array. Okay, so we're going to do switch list find, and find takes a function that returns true or false. So we're going to say like switch data, I guess. We could just say switch. Mm-hmm. I just want to make sure. Switch elements. Okay. So find. So we're I guess we're going to be returning this. Okay. So switch name is equal to the switch name. Okay. And that should go over all the elements, pull out just the object we want for each one, and add it into the list. So we're gonna get back this. We're gonna get back a list of objects, and each object is gonna represent the switch element data. We're gonna get name back. We're gonna get auto back, but we're not gonna get these two back. Okay, so these are things we still need to do. We need to tell whether it's on, and we need to get the element in there. So what we could do is say let switch, what is this saying? Is this saying that I'm already using it somewhere? I think it is. What is it saying? What is it saying? That it's already, is this saying that it's already defined? I don't know why that is doing that. Okay, whatever. So let switch data equals that, and then we're going to say switch equals switch element, and then we're going to return switch data. Okay, so now we've got the element inside the object too. Okay, so now we don't need to worry about that. Now the one thing we need to see is the switch on? And the way we're going to tell that is we're going to get the on attribute. So that's this one. So you know what we could do? We could say, I'm playing around here. So we're going to say on equals switch data dot lm dot matches, and I think we just matches just takes matches. No. I want matches. Yeah, okay, that one. Select is just a selector string. So matches data dash switched on and this is a space separated list. So we can do that. And then in here, we can have the name. Now the other way of doing it would be parsing the switched on attribute using some kind of parse function and then seeing if the name matches. But since this is such a simple example where it's always going to be a space separated list of words, I think we can just use this. We'll use an ES6 template string and we'll just say switch name. So we're really leaning heavily on a lot of newer functions like matches and this attribute selector thing. I think did I just have the attribute selector thing up? No. I think the attribute selector thing is not that new, actually. Attribute selector. It's not this one. I think it's not that new. This is not the one I wanted. It's this one. Okay, so yeah, I guess since IE 7 and Edge 12 supports it. Oh man. Attribute selector edge. This would be a huge pain. CSS3 selectors. I want to go back on edge. I don't know, 96%. I'm okay with that. You know, if it's above like 93, 94, that's like a no-brainer, I think. Okay, and we're going to have a polyfill for matches. Okay, so now we have whether it's on or not, right? Because if the element, which of course we could also just use this here, I don't know which one is better. I guess this is fine. So if it matches this, so this means it has the data attribute of data switched on, and that this is equal to a space separated list of values, of which one of is this. and that's how we tell if it's on or not. That makes a lot of sense. Okay. So now we have this, and we want to return this. So that's cool. I would like to have this somewhere. So let's say let switches equals this, and let's make sure we're not using switches in here anywhere. Nope, okay. And let's just return switches, and we know that's going to be name, and let's put these last because those are the things we're processing last, and we can put these in order of how, how they're normally presented too. Okay, so we got name, auto, custom name. Did I really have it be custom switch name? I like custom name better. So let's look in here. Let's search for custom switch name. And so I have it in here. So let's just delete this and this. Okay, nowhere else there. And then here, it's going to return custom name instead. I like that better because it's obvious pretty much what it is, and it's shorter. And if you're curious about what it is, so when this, so when the switch is turned on, it also will add this custom name to the data switched on attribute. Okay, so we're going to have two functions, turn on and turn off, coming up soon. Turn on and turn off. And I'm just going to put a note in here saying make sure to add the custom name too. And make sure to remove the custom name too. Okay. So that should be that. So let's just go through this really quick. So we're going to go through all the elements. We're going to parse out the data from them. So it's going to turn into a dictionary with keys of name, auto, and custom name. We're going to take that list, right, because it's going to be a list of objects, and we're going to find the switch inside this list with the same name as the one we're passing in, the one we're looking for. And I'm just going to make sure, because I've never actually used the native find function before. I have used underscores. But I just want to make sure that, let's say we have a1 and we do find, that we're going to return the object and not like a list with the object in it. LMA equals 1. Yep, so we return the object. That makes sense. Okay, so now we have the switch data. We're going to set the lm equal to the switch element, which is here. And then we're going to see if it's on by seeing if the selector matches, and the selector is just seeing if switch name is in that attribute somewhere. And I'm going to make sure that this is what we're using. Oh, so yeah, this is going to, I changed the syntax. And yes, that's what we're using. And then we're returning the singular switch data, which gets mapped into the list. And we already know that these elements match because we're getting them from up here. Cool, 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 cool. Switches, and we're returning the switches. Okay, sweet. So now the next thing we want to do, get target switches, that's what we just did. Yep, and then it used this like helper function. And the next thing we want to do is see if the target switch is on. If it's on, we turn it off. If it's off, we turn it on, if the action is toggle. And then if the action type is on and the target switch is not on, we're going to turn it on. And if it's already on and the action is off, we're going to turn it off. So I'm not going to go through all of this. What I am going to do, because I have to go really soon, so I'm going to write up some quick code for what this should do, because I know it's not just doing the simple thing, right? So I'll add like a little to-do note up here just to make sure that's not part of the so what is turn on doing? I think maybe the only complicated part is that it's applying custom name. Because we already have the context. Auto is going to be taken care of later when we auto deactivate things. And we have the name, and what we're feeding it is the target switch. So we're going to have the switch with this information. So we're going to have the name, the element, whether it's on or not, the custom name, and auto. Okay, so the first thing we want to do, I'm just going to try to spend 1 minute on this. We're going to get the attribute data switched on. We're going to, and save it. We're going to, add the switch name to this attribute string after a space, and then add the custom name to this attribute string after a space. Okay, now we can delete that because we have it in there, and this is where it's a little complicated. So get the attribute string and save it. Remove the switch name from this attribute string. Remove the custom name from this attribute string after space. Remove the attribute all entirely if there are no active switches. Okay, so that should set up us. So that should set us up for next time. And next time we will finish writing this and then hopefully start testing it. Okay, thank you for watching and have a nice day.